You know, brother, all my little Hulkamaniacs that come and support all my Hulkamaniac stuff forever and ever and ever, and these 24-inch pythons. Happy Friday. And welcome back. Hope you're about to enjoy a great weekend. So, the legend of Hulk Hogan. It is a very, let's say, put it like this. Growing up, because for people who don't know, it used to actually be called WWF, World Wrestling Federation. So, like, as over the time, the years have changed, it's become this WWE or whatever. So, but WWF, Hulk Hogan, without a doubt, was at one point the biggest star in the world. He actually, his real name is Terry Barrera, but was what he did was unbelievable. I mean, it was so to the point where I think he was more popular than actual athletes in sports, basketball, football, baseball, or hockey, because the guy was so. It was like he was like a god. And I remember the first time WrestleMania came on. And just trying to stay up and watch it. And before they went to pay-per-view, WrestleMania used to come on, I think it was NBC or one of the regular channels initially. And so, you know, of course, how things go with money over time, they started leasing it out to pay-per-view. So, you know, people had to pay for it. But the deal is he was somebody I really looked up to as a kid, as a young kid. And most people looked up to him as a kid because wrestling was just like this huge phenomenon. I know there's still a lot of people that still watch wrestling now. As a grown man, I haven't watched wrestling in probably 35 years. I kind of stopped watching it after I became a teenager and got more into, football, basketball, stuff like that. But what I want to talk about today is how somebody can be a hero to you. And I know sometimes people want to separate the character from the person, but the character is the person. This isn't, like an acting thing. I believe that he was a professionally trained wrestler. He definitely was a bodybuilder, definitely was in shape. So, and he did wrestling for years. So that's not like playing a character to an extent. But when you have power and when you have people that trust in you as a brand, it's important even when that spills over into your personal life. That's why there is such a cancel culture and different things like that, because when people they want their stars to resonate with brilliance, with being genuine, with being authentic. So you can't on one side be this huge iconic figure, but then in 2007 or 2015 a secret tape comes out saying that how you don't want your daughter ever dating a black man, except you didn't use those terms. He didn't use those terms. He used the N-word terms and said it. And then so when it came out in 2015, he apologized for it, said he wasn't a racist, and said that it's partially due to his upbringing and where he grew up at and how he grew up and certain things that are said. And that part right there, I do believe is genuine. But I also think that people still have to be held accountable for the things that they do. So even right now, like because he lived and he's passed away, as we all will. So I want to give him a little bit of grace as far as that. But I had stopped being a fan of his, once I heard these allegations and, years ago, about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people are like that. And I think none of us can ever, it doesn't matter to me what race you are or whatever, don't forever 1 second think that a person as a whole, a group as a whole, is going to choose your race over theirs. They're not going to do it. There's no reason for me, and I don't think certain things like that are racist. I think that once you make certain remarks and do certain things, so, tried to give them a little pass for that, but then found out, I think, was it maybe a year or less ago? It was a company they had, and allegedly there was a young woman, an African American woman, who was hired, and he abruptly dismissed her. All right, that's what the rumor was saying, that he dismissed her from one of his companies, and the thought was because she was black. Who knows? But the thing is that we know that this is all too familiar thing. There are a lot of people that you're going to look up to, that we're going to look up to, who let you down, who don't rise to the level of being as great of a person outside of the ring, in this case, as inside of the ring. Because I'm telling you, anybody that you know that grew up in the 80s and 90s, like Hulk Hogan was that guy. I mean, he was that guy. He was somebody to be revered. He was he was an iconic, larger than life kind of person. And even though like I've never wrestled or anything in high school, nothing like that, but I mean, he really made wrestling seem cool. And although I did like Ric Flair used to be with this group called NWA. Not the brothers with attitudes, but that's the name of that wrestling federation, was NWA. And Ric Flair, as popular as he is, nobody, even The Rock, and I like The Rock, or John Cena, no one will ever be able to, in my estimation, eclipse what Hulk Hogan did as far as what he did for the sport of wrestling, or at least entertainment wrestling. So when it comes down to it, a lot of times it is a hard deal. It's a hard thing to separate the actual person and their actions and the person that you at one time looked up to. Because you especially as you get older and you start seeing things in a different lens, you don't want to accept that. Like the guy that I liked so much as a kid coming up, he doesn't like people that look like me. You know, that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when these are people that you've looked up to. These are people that you've said, hey, listen, you know, if I could be like somebody, I want to be like him. Or I want to be like, you know, if it's a woman, I want to be like her. And I think that a lot of people, I was watching Piers Morgan today, and one clip with him and Mark Lamont Hill and someone else, and they were talking about the young lady that called the little kid the N-word, and then said it, I think, to somebody else, called a 5-year-old the N-word, and then they were able to raise I think she raised over $800,000 on her Send, Give, Go, whatever that new app is that, you know, people can raise money with, over $800,000, because people wanted to support her, although she, and forget the fact just that she called an N-word, the fact is that why are you talking like that to a 5-year-old? Like, how old are you? Why would you even talk like that to a kid? But still, she raised over $800,000 on that Give, Send, Go app. Almost $1 million for berating a 5-year-old child. But I think that lends to show us where the world is really at. And the fact that when it comes down to race relations, it's all nice to say that, oh yeah, you know, people get along better and everything like that. No, I think that because we have so many eyes and ears everywhere, it's just harder to become as big of a racist or bigot or whatever. So it's a lot harder because you don't want to be the one plastered everywhere that says you're the person that talks like this about people of different cultures, of different races or nationalities. You don't want to be that person. So therefore, you know, you kind of keep some of that stuff. A lot of people kind of keep it closeted and to themselves because, you know, you don't want to be that guy or you don't want to be that girl. But trust and believe, in my estimation, outside of lynchings and hangings and just different things like that, race relations are probably almost as bad as they've been. It's just a lot more covert. It's not out in the open. People aren't getting chased by dogs and with water hoses as much anymore, or there aren't signs that say colored only and things like that because they're not legally allowed to hang them. But, you know, in a lot of places, there is still that sentiment. So, you let me know what you think. Were you a Hulk Hogan fan? Did you love the Hulkster? Or were you a Hulkamaniac? Because I know I was. And I want to say, you know what, because we try to rise above the level of ignorance. And I'll say, because last thing I'll say, I was checking out some clips on the WWE, which was the WWF site on YouTube. And, I'm just going to assume it got so crazy, they got their comments turned off. So they turned their comments off. They probably were getting a lot of mixed reviews about Hulk Hogan. But what I will say is that we should, and we, know what the person is for what they were. But let's not be the type of people to smash people and their families, especially when they're going through a time of death. Because we all have to go that way. And believe me, there's always going to be somebody that ain't got the best things to say about you or me. But death is final. And as far as I know, he didn't SA anybody, and he didn't kill anybody. But one thing he did do was that he made a lot of people, especially, earlier on, believe in something at the time was positive, which was wrestling and, being a decent person and being a stand-up person, at least as a wrestler. But like I said, you tell me what you think. Make sure you share the video, send it out to somebody, get their perspective on it. And hey, live life. Don't let life live you.